Let's start off with the main man, Jason Duval. Jason is one of the main two protagonists alongside Lucia. He grew up around grifters and crooks, and he joined the army to try and escape that criminal world. But after his stint in the army, he ended up returning to the Leonida Keys, and unfortunately falling back into the drug running world that he tried to escape from. Nowadays, he works out of the boatyard for Brian Heder, smuggling drugs but also collecting checks and doing other dirty work for Brian, just like we saw mentioned in trailer 2. On top of that, there's a quote on the Rockstar website for Jason that states, "If anything happens, I'm right behind you." I'm assuming this is referenced or said towards Lucia, who as we know could be the best or worst thing to happen to Jason Duval. And adding on to this, courtesy of GameRoll on Twitter or X, it's been leaked that because of Jason's time in the army, he's going to have an ability similar to Deadeye from RDR2 or Michael's ability from GTA 5, which slows down time and reveals weak spots. Again, reinforcing the fact that he's a good shot. Another thing to mention is Jason is a good looking ladies man, with lots of women eyeing him up in the trailers, and even though he's a criminal, it seems he's respected and well known in the Leonida Keys area, with locals actually calling his name as he drives by. And while we're on the topic of this scene, I wanted to mention also that Jason's car is a Vapid Creado. I hope I haven't butchered that, but essentially his car is a new addition in GTA 6, and the Vapid brand is modelled off the real world Ford. But just quickly, let's talk about the actor Dylan Rourke, who is highly speculated to be the voice behind Jason in GTA 6. You may recognise him from the movie Bury the Bride, or even his appearances on Modern Family and Grey's Anatomy back in the day. But unlike Lucia's voice actor, who seems pretty much identical, just take this one with a pinch of salt. But moving on now, just before we talk about Lucia, let's talk quickly about Stefanie, who you may not know by name, but she is the face at the start of trailer 1, and she appears to be a social worker at the Leonida Department of Corrections, where Lucia is being held. I honestly don't think Stefanie will have any major involvement in GTA 6, but she could obviously show up during Lucia's prison storyline, if there even is one. Although maybe I'm wrong and she plays a part in the prologue, which is highly speculated to start in the prison. And if you were wondering throughout all of this how we know her name is Stefanie, it says so on our nameplate here in this one scene. Anyway, next up, let's talk about Lucia Caminos, who is the first female protagonist in GTA. And yes, before one of you comment there was a female protagonist in GTA 2 or something like that, that doesn't count, alright? Lucia, or rather the actor Manuel Perez, shows the same similarities as the protagonist back in GTA 5. And what I mean by that is they're all pretty much identical in looks and personality to their in-game characters. And if you're still not convinced, then you probably haven't seen Manuel Perez stumbling through interviews, completely lying about the fact that she was ever in GTA, even though she actually voiced one of the dealers in the Diamond Casino back in GTA Online. And adding on to this, she never responded to GTA comments on her Instagram posts, and she ended up taking her Instagram account down a few weeks later, likely due to her NDA agreement with Rockstar. But less on Miss Perez now and more on Lucia Caminos. You've likely seen this trailer 2 scene 100 times by now, where it's said that the only thing that matters is who you know and what you've got, which may be true, but what's interesting about this is that it's the only quote on Rockstar's website that lines up perfectly with the actual trailer. All the other characters' quotes aren't actually mentioned in trailers 1 and 2, but that makes you think, what if all of these quotes are actually said in-game in GTA 6? It would make a lot of sense, and maybe we just haven't been shown those scenes yet from the game. So based on the fact that Rockstar's very selective with the info that they put out, I'm gonna bet that these quotes are used during pivotal moments in the GTA 6 story, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, if you didn't know, Lucia was born and raised in Liberty City, which is the same city from GTA 4, and she was also trained to fight by her father from a very young age. And ultimately, this fighting to protect her and her family ended up landing her in prison, which leads us into the events of GTA 6 trailers 1 and 2. And you may have noticed also that she has a gold necklace with a golden boxing glove on the end of it, which was likely a gift from her father. But following on from that, I find it really interesting how Lucia is supposedly fresh out of prison, and also that sheer luck got her out. So just quickly, I want to talk about something that not a lot of people are talking about, and I bet it's something that a lot of us are thinking about, and that's how did Lucia and Jason even meet in the first place? Surely we must find out in GTA 6, because all we've seen so far is Jason collecting her after she's been released from prison. But I feel like the wording from Rockstar here really makes it seem that Jason played a part in her so-called lucky release. But moving on now, let's talk about what fans are calling the Selfie Guy, who appears in a few scenes throughout the trailers, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say he's got a much bigger part to play in the GTA 6 story, and I seriously think he's one of Lucia's close friends or even her brother. It's definitely no coincidence that he appears twice during trailer 2, once obviously whilst they're taking the selfie, but the second time he's seen is in the Rusty Anchor when there's a small group along with Lucia and Jason, where he seems to be communicating with one of Lucia's best friends. And adding on to that, I've got a sneaky suspicion that that selfie is going to lead to a lot of problems. I'm not really sure why, but I've just got a feeling that that's going to be used as evidence against them, maybe later on in the GTA 6 storyline, as it appears to me that they're all obviously very drunk, with Jason even being hot and flustered. But that leads me on nicely to the other character that we just seen. This woman seems to only be visible briefly in trailer 2, but unfortunately we don't have that much information on her. The only thing I can point out is that she seems to be pregnant, so maybe that means that Lucia's gonna either have a nephew or niece, but that assumes that this lady is Lucia's sister. And although that's a possibility, if that's not the case, I've got another observation that I'd like to share as well. During trailer 1 and one of the live streams, we can see an account that goes by the name of Shanese, or maybe it's Shanese, but you get the idea. Actually, on further review, I think it is definitely Shanese, as a character by the name of Shanese was mentioned in the early leaks of GTA 6, and she was rumoured to be very close with Lucia. But although I think it's a bit of a long shot, if we zoom in on the profile picture here for a minute, it seems as though she's got short styled hair, obviously glasses, and I want to say that she's wearing a chain, which you can sort of see in the gap between her head and her hand. So if we come back to this shot now, we can see this lady, who's clearly a friend of Lucia's, is also wearing a chain. She has short hair also, and I'd say she looks slightly similar to the lady in the profile picture. Once again, I'm not sure and this could be completely wrong, but it all seems to match up rather nicely. Moving on now, let's talk about Rudi, who's the guy from this one scene in trailer 1, and he's getting filmed performing what seems to be a pretty daring stunt. I mean, he's fully hanging out the car and driving with his right foot. But why I wanted to talk about Rudi is you can see in the bottom left, it says RIP Rudi, which implies that he's no longer with us. But why would Rockstar put a character like that in the trailer? Maybe it was just to show off the use of social media, but I feel like there's more to it than that. And adding on to this, we can see that Rudi is iced out as well as being covered in tattoos, and he's also got a red bandana wrapped around his neck, maybe hinting that he's part of a gang. But regardless, I hope that if we meet Rudi in GTA 6 that at least he's alive and well. And leading on from that, let's go a bit more in depth now to one of the most intriguing characters, Raul Bautista. Unfortunately, he isn't the Bautista from WWE, but on the GTA 6 page on Rockstar's website, he's quoted saying that life is full of surprises, my friend. I think we'd all be wise to remember that. And this really ties in well to the sort of aura around him. He seems like one of the most untrustworthy people out of all of them. And in my opinion, he definitely seems like the type to betray Lucia and Jason. He's a calculated and experienced bank robber, and he really reminds me of the professor from the show Money Heist if you've ever seen it. It says that Raul is potentially a reckless character, and he is on the hunt for talent and ready to take the risks that bring the biggest rewards. On top of this, combined with the fact that he is the one hunting for talent, it seems that he is the leader on the Sinfante National Bank heist, along with Jason and Lucia. So Mr. Bautista is almost certainly a really smart guy, and we could see him filling a similar role to Trevor, just a bit less crazy. And maybe he's even the third protagonist that we haven't been told about yet, but I'd say at this moment in time that that's quite unlikely. Next, let's talk about Big Phil from Phil's Ammunition. There's not much to say about Phil apart from the fact that he seems like an insane hillbilly, and his attire as well as the women in his advert makes him fit in with the people in Port Gellhorn, so it's likely his shop is in this location. But then again, it's hard to say because Port Gellhorn seems like a pretty desolate and run-down part of the map. But one more thing just before we move on, he seems to be a reimagined version of Phil Cassidy, who was featured in GTA 3 and GTA Vice City, so maybe he's a descendant of one of these, and the business is still running and been passed down over generations. But next up, let's talk about a hilarious character who actually went pretty viral, and that's the Leonida Joker. And for legal reasons, he's allegedly based on the real-life Florida Joker. Just play the clip.
GTA, we gotta talk. Take 2, we gotta talk. I'm really not trying to sue y'all.
And also, according to the news screen, he was easily identified by all of his tattoos, and he was actually convicted based on the tattoo on his neck. But let's get down to business now and talk about Hampton, who seems to be the most chill character in the whole of GTA 6, and he's rumoured to be voiced by Bobby Moynihan, and unfortunately not Jack Black. Anyway, Hampton seems to be into conspiracy theories, as he says there are way too many birds flying around in perfect formation. So maybe he's onto something, and the FIB are controlling birds now instead of UFOs like in GTA 5. But leading on from this, Cal is Jason's best friend and also his co-worker down at Brian's marina, and what we've seen from trailers and screenshots, he seems to be pretty content with his life. For instance, he's seen at the bar with Jason, as well as being shown going fishing with him in another screenshot. So it seems like Cal and Jason are going to be proper boys and do random activities with each other, just like Nico and Roman back in GTA 4. So it seems like that's the kind of relationship they're going to have. Or maybe it's more like Franklin and Lamar from GTA 5, but we'll just have to wait and see. Overall, he seems like a great character, but I just hope he doesn't die in GTA 6. But leading on from that now, we've alluded at him already. Let's talk about Brian Heder, who is the old school drug smuggler who obviously runs Brian's Boatworks and Marina. On top of that, he also drives a massive 4x4, and courtesy of trailer 2, it seems he gets Jason to do his dirty work for him, and in return he gets to live rent free in one of Brian's properties. And adding on to that, in one of the screenshots, Brian is shown in the passenger seat of his 4x4, with Jason actually in the driver's seat with body armor on, and this was likely taken before one of the debt collection missions. But following on from this, in regards to his plane, which is obviously a seaplane that takes off from the marina, Brian's quote reads as this: "I've hauled so much grass in that plane, I could make the state of Leonida levitate." And this definitely reinforces that he's a long-time drug runner. And to supplement this, I have to mention that he seems like a bit of a father figure for Jason, as Brian is the person that he goes to when he finds out the police has all of his information. And oh yeah, just before I forget, the actor is rumoured to be Stephen Root, who you may have seen in that movie called Dodgeball, although that was over 20 years ago, so he's a bit younger there. But now let's talk about Brian's wife, who you've probably seen tagging along with him. Her name is Laurie Heder, and she works very closely with Brian to ensure the smooth operation, and as you can see, she's definitely comfortable with weapons. In addition to this, it's interesting that Rockstar has noted her as Brian's third wife, so it really makes you wonder what happened to the first two, and will we find out the story behind that in GTA 6, maybe as we learn more about Brian. But as well as that, I think it's obvious that Laurie's going to play a pretty big part in all the missions to do with Brian, and I hope he doesn't need a fourth wife after we finish the GTA 6 main story. Anyway, let's move on now and talk about the Hammer Lady from trailer 1. Just like the Leonida Joker, the Hammer Lady is based on a real world event too. Although the GTA 6 trailer doesn't look anything like the real life lady, it's clear where Rockstar got the inspiration from. And what's more is this lady seems to live in Hamlet, which is its own city, and it's been placed on the leaked GTA 6 map, just below Vice City. But now let's talk about the strip club owner, Boobie Ike, who owns the Jack of Hearts club that can be seen in trailers 1 and 2. And he's said to be a local Vice City legend, as he's one of the very few to transform his time on the streets into a legitimate business empire. And because of that, he now owns a lot of real estate and even a recording studio, as well as dealing in a bit of shady business on the side, stemming back to his roots. And to back this up, he says word for word that the club money pays for the studio, but the drug money pays for it all. And interestingly enough, if you've seen the 2022 leaks, you would have seen Boobie Ike in his nightclub exclaiming that you should never fall in love or something like that. He gets a bit angry, I can't remember. Anyway, let's quickly discuss the guy with the gold chain from trailer 1, who seems like an exciting character, and it would be cool to see what he gets up to in GTA 6. In this scene, you can actually see him shaking hands with someone with a blue bandana on, which contrasts the red bandana that Rudi had on earlier. So because of this, I'm highly anticipating a lot of gangs, just like we saw back in GTA 5, and the red and blue colour schemes here remind me a lot of the Blood and the Crips. But leading on from that now, let's talk about Boobie Ike's sidekick, Dre'Quan Priest, who is actually more of a friend and a partner when it comes to the recording studio. And Dre'Quan sort of runs that side of things, and because of that, he's the manager of Only Raw Records. And just like Boobie Ike, he's an ex-drug dealer, but he's trying to make a name for himself in the music industry. Following on from that now, let's talk about Bae-Luxe, the first member from the Real Dimes. As you can probably tell, she's quite flashy, and she seems to care a lot about her appearance, as well as generally showing up a lot in the trailers. And obviously, she specialises in rap, and she has a strong social media presence. After an early hit single with this rapper, who we are yet to discover in GTA 6. On top of that, let's talk about her partner, Roxy, who has been best friends with Bae-Luxe since high school, and for the past 5 years since their hit single, they've been out on the streets shaking down local dealers, so they're not as pretty as they look. But last but not least, least now, let's talk about the police detective, who is for sure the main guy responsible for investigating Jason and Lucia, but we don't have that much extra information on him, apart from that the community thinks he's really likely to die in GTA 6. And on top of that, whilst recording this right now, I've just realised that he looks oddly similar to Raul Bautista, almost like he could be his dad or something like that, and that could really tie in with his shady personality, because we're all expecting a massive betrayal in GTA 6. But let me know what you think down below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.